they announced another Magic the Gathering movie. If you've seen the thumbnail and title of this video and thought, I thought they already tried to do a movie, you'd be correct. There has been multiple occasions in the past where there's been a movie in the works, and like Mark Roseport has talked about it and stuff, then it's got shit canned. You also might recall that there was an animated series in the works too, and then it was kind of accidentally cancelled, but then wasn't. Yeah, that's still happening apparently. But the reason I come into the video where I announce or talk about, I don't announce, someone else got to announce that, more on that in a second. But in the video where I talk about the fact that they've announced a new movie, if I seem a little bit like, sure, it's because this has been an ongoing thing. Like, we've had the announcements and the talk of Magic the Gathering movies and TV shows for the best part of 15 plus years, if not longer. Well, definitely longer, but I mean with concrete partnerships with other production companies and such. So the bomb was dropped by Command Zone, who got to help announce, according to their terms, this on their channel. That said, though, there was a press release that was put out that loads of other companies, online entities like Variety, for example, have also commented on. Also, this little excerpt from Variety here, where it talks about the strategy tournament represents a 1 billion piece of intellectual property, does sound like it was maybe not written by a human. Variety, what's up with this weird turn of phrase here? So essentially there was a press release call that other people were on, and then people released some articles and moved on, and Game Nights broke the news over in a way that gets to Magic fans, because Magic fans aren't checking Variety's homepage. My favorite thing about looking at like articles like this or videos like this is seeing the same things that they talk about, because it gives you a good indication of like what was in the press release. Like every single one of the written ones from Variety, TheWrap.com, I don't know what that is. It's a website, Vince. All of them mentioned the Monsterverse and that Legendary Pictures were responsible for the successful Dune and Godzilla movies. If that's a talking point they want to reiterate. No one's talking about how they're basically responsible for funding all of Zack Snyder's shit. That's going to upset some people, isn't it? I used to be a Zack Snyder defender, saying he wasn't as bad as people made out. But now everyone wants to fucking give James Gunn shit over the new Superman movie because it's not Snyder. That's it, I'm done. I'm not putting up with this shit. The new Superman movie looks great. So yeah, Legendary Pictures, which is a kind of an apt name considering the legendary thing in Magic, is teaming up to make a movie and perhaps TV universe. It's all very vague because it's the opening first up announcement of a new partnership. So in reality, we are years out. I'm going to hazard minimum 3, probably 5 to 6 years from anything really showing up in front of us. And by that point, the planet probably would have burnt to death and democracy has collapsed. That's what I really need in my post-apocalyptic hellscape, is the lost tapes of a Magic the Gathering movie. But beyond that, I'm just not even convinced it will get there, because we've had this so many times before. And let's be real, like, I love Magic, don't get me wrong, and I love proper, like, old school Magic too, if we do the Weatherlight or even the Gatewatch going to Innistrad or whatever. But the reality is, Wizards are pretty bad at managing media around the game. Like, what was the last piece of extended media you consumed around Magic? Was it the lo-fi video they just dropped on their YouTube channel this morning, which I think is actually kind of cool? This is fun. How about some fucking Hot Pockets? Was it that book that told us that Chandra is into decidedly masculine men that was received so badly they've kind of given up on books? Maybe it was Magic Legends, to use the same terminology all over the shop. That's right, a game that I covered and said didn't look great during early production, and it did not last very long. It was a Diablo Path of Exile, before Path of Exile was a glimmer in the consciousness of the gamers, I guess. But anyway, it was bad. It was really bad. And don't forget, that was lauded as an MMO and talked about on nerd websites and in videos like this one for years as an MMO, and then it wasn't an MMO, it was a fucking Diablo clone. I have no fucking idea why the management of this property outside of the cards is so bad. And there's an argument it's not good in the cards either, am I right? The funniest thing about them doing a video, what the fucking hell, what am I? I used to call movies videos when I was a kid, because I used to go to the video shop and get VHSs. That's right, I'm 21. But the funniest thing about movies and TV shows right now is that Magic isn't showing a lot of pride or faith in itself in terms of its own canon and lore and extended background. We've got Aether Drift, which is basically just wacky races on the holodeck, and we've had multiple Bleach episodes where characters wear different hats, and people aren't really feeling the Magic vibe. Even the sets recently that people are reasonably happy about had a good both critical and public reception. Bloomborough, for example, isn't really Magic in the real magical sense, although it felt more like Magic than pretty much anything else that came out that year. What the fuck is going on? And we had the announcement recently that we're going 50% in-universe and 50% universes beyond, going through standard. As someone who likes Magic as a system that can explore other intellectual properties and worlds through its robust mechanics, even I was taken aback and a bit like, what the fuck are we doing when it comes to dropping 50% of our game into other properties? And now, as they do that, and obviously those things will sell like fucking hotcakes, Final Fantasy and Spider Spider-Man are coming. If you haven't heard, those are quite big, hot properties. And then there's also SpongeBob, don't forget. But Wizards love to point to the things that have sold really well and continue to do them. Mechanically unique cards in secret lairs, no problems there. The Walking Dead sold like gangbusters, kids. Power creep ruining formats, don't worry about it. Modern Horizons is one of the best-selling sets of all time, baby. My biggest fear moving to the next couple of years is that the non-universes within stuff, the universes beyond stuff, if you will, it's going to sell really well. It will grow the player base. There's this argument that people come in for Final Fantasy and then leave, and I don't think that's true. But I do think that some of them do leave. Is it going to grow the game in a way that is sustainable? It's one of the problems that we might face. But beyond that, as it sells more and more, I can see them dropping to only 25% of the sets every year being actual, factual Magic canon. Maybe even less. It might turn out that once a year we get our reprint set and one set that's the magic, that's the retro nostalgia for boomer 21-year-olds like PleasantKenobi. And then in amongst that, you want to drop a fucking movie and TV show and also the animation supposedly on top of all of that supposedly will tie into Magic itself. Like, you're gonna have people like they do with Arcane, watch Arcane and try and play League of Legends and realize, no, these are not very similar at all. People are gonna fall in love with Gideon or Chandra or Elspeth and then go to the local store and get absolutely trumped by SpongeBob SquarePants. Isn't that a fucking weird situation to put yourself in? The upside is that if these things are popular and successful, it does mean that maybe Magic the Gathering might see its own intellectual property as something that it can cultivate and use as a world to set their cards in, for example. We might actually go up again. We might do that dip that I'm predicting and then go back up as the movie lands. Or the movie will be stuck in developmental hell forever, or suck, and none of this will happen. Legendary Pictures were involved in some capacity with the Dungeons & Dragons movie that came out, Among Thieves. If you haven't seen it, D&D Among Thieves, Honor Among Thieves, is really fucking good. Like, I'm not just saying that, it's really fucking good. It's funny, it's charming, it's like, it's got reverence for its own source material, like it's not just mocking itself openly. Internally, the movie was considered a failure, because I think it only broke even. It did not make money. Oh, I looked it up. 150 million budget, 208.2 million worldwide. There's this thing that like basic bitch film YouTubers do, and I'm going to do it too, where you talk about your budget and you've got to double it to account for marketing for mainstream like AAA movies, if you will. So really, out of a budget of 150 million, it probably needs to make 300 million to break even. It's like 100 million short. So it didn't even break even. That's really fucking sad. The movie was great, but because it didn't do too well, they're not going to continue growing that like part of their IP. Instead, they're going to do whatever the fuck they're doing with D&D right now that's making other people break out from their content spheres and create their own games. Anyway, yeah, there's a movie coming. Maybe. I'm not confident it'll ever see the light of day. And it might just land at a point where there's very little actual Magic characters in Magic, which is a very funny situation to find yourself in. And I'll be covering it, because my life is irreparably attached to this fucking game now. I'll talk more about this next week, but Aether Drift has got me really bummed out. Like, the set kind of blows, and most people feel the same way, and it's the least amount of buzz I've ever fucking seen about a set, because we are on a real diminishing returns of binge episodes here. I've been Vince, also known as PleasantKenobi on the internet. I'm going to go play some competitive Warhammer this weekend. Be good to one another, and I'll see you all soon. Ta-ta for now.